Me, I went into the thought tunnel last night, okay? I'm getting... I super don't want to engage with any of these people. I feel like after this Jan 6 thing, we're going to do more reading and we're going to like chill. No, we have to make it to the election. Why is it the conservative just like, it rots my brain. It's just insane how much stupid shit they can say and get away with. It's insane. Like, how big of a player in the AI game is Musk supposed to be when it comes to like Grok and Twitter and his early investments and all that? Like, is he considered like irrelevant now, or is it like, oh, he's rich and he invests and he's like a decent? I don't mean in terms of like how cutting edge is their shit, but in terms of like places. I feel like it's so weird that a guy that owns X and is like investing into AI, it just will like blatantly retweet like fake AI news. That's just like insane to me. Even if it is obvious and you say it's obvious, but it's not to everybody that clicks it. I know because my mom sends me some of these stupid links. Like, this behavior would be so unacceptable from anybody else. Like, if Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg were doing things like this, it would just be insane. It would be unhinged. Elon is like Trump, except while Trump is 80 to 85 IQ, Elon might be 90 to 95 IQ. Based on how I've heard Elon talk, I feel like Elon is probably quite a bit above average intelligence. He's just like very, very, very emotionally driven. I really do think that Elon's whole online thing is a reaction to just people bullying him. I heard you speak positively about AI in general on bridges. Do you feel the same that way? Wait, speak positively in what way? Could Kamala sue? It's not a matter of suing. It's just Elon's behavior is wholly unacceptable. Like, remember, Republicans wanted to destroy all social media protections because they felt like COVID misinformation was being censored too heavily. But when a foreign actor like Elon Musk, who's intensely politically partisan, buys and then goes private with one of the largest social media networks in the United States and is blatantly a politically partisan hack, and then even like retweets and spreads like AI misinfo, the Democrats are silent. And nobody seems to care. But it's because the standard is so low for conservatives. We just like expect it. Like, if you were to hold like a meeting and you had like conservative children and liberal children, and the conservatives showed up where they had all shit themselves, the expectation would be that you would tell the liberals to just bring nose pins. Like, obviously the conservatives are going to show up shitting themselves. Like, no shit. Like, obviously. Minecraft movie.
Right this way.
What the hell?
Anything you can dream about here, you can make.
Wait. Is that Jack Black? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Wait, was that his voice? Okay, yeah, that's the Aquaman actor. Wait, did I just hear his voice?
Anything you can dream about here, you can make.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, he's here.
Who are you?
I
And Minecraft.
am Steve. Okay.
This guy is such a tool bag.
Major props if like 30 minutes into the movie, one of these kids gets disemboweled and Hero Brian shows up and it morphs into like a rated R horror movie. Hell yes. Sometimes these like dumb concept movies can end up being surprisingly good. Like I feel like I'm saying this, but I never watched it. I feel like most people liked the new Jumanji movies. Am I making that up, or is that? Oh, I don't know about the 2019 one. Didn't most people like this one? Oh, this is not what I was looking for. I don't know about the second one though. 7 out of 10, 6.7. Yeah. The Lego movies were goated. Yeah, obviously the Lego movies are goated. Also, that we kind of forgot about it. I don't know if you forgot about it or not. Damn, 5 years ago. Holy fuck. This movie was pretty good. I had literally zero expectations going in. I was like, okay. It was okay. Oh, the Sonic movie? Yeah, I thought the Sonic movie was okay. It was okay. This one? Do you remember what the early designs? Was it going to be this? I wish they would have just released this one. I wanted to see this Sonic. That was a psyop. They had the real design ready and released the shit one to bait attention. Do you really think so? I heard that meme, but... Love your talk about movies with IMS and Bridges. Have you watched any David Lynch stuff? If not, check out the movie Blue Velvet and the show Twin Peaks. I feel like David Lynch is one of those directors that somehow have like managed to evade like all of their movies without even knowing who he is. And I think Scorsese is like the opposite. I've managed to see like a decent number of his movies without knowing who he is. I don't think I've seen a single one of these movies. Inland Empire, Mulholland Drive, The Straight Story, Lost Highway, Twin Peaks, Wild at Heart, Blue Velvet, oh, no, not Dune, thank God. Are you still watching Suits? I don't know. I watched like the 3rd episode. I'm working on it. Scorsese, I've seen a lot of his movies, and I don't, not like intentionally. I just have. I don't know why. I didn't watch this one. Ooh, 4-hour fucking movie. I didn't even know he did Shutter Island. I probably read this like 5 times. I just keep forgetting. The Departed. Is it an edgy opinion to say Gangs of New York is overrated? Like, I thought this was a decent movie, but I feel like anytime the one oh god, fuck, what's the famous actor guy? Anytime Daniel Day-Lewis. Anytime people are in it, or anytime he's in a movie, like, oh yes, fucking, it's like he's a really good performer. He gives a great performance in this movie. But I felt it was like it was an movie. Not bad, like okay. What's the difference between a producer and a director? A director is like the guy who decides like, a director is the guy behind the camera who's telling the actors what to do, kind of, basically. He's like he's going to be like probably one of the most important centerpieces for the film. That's why people like obsess over like big directors. And producers can be literally anything. Like producer. I think a producer just means that I actually don't even know what producer. I'm not even going to try to define it. It's a very vague, amorphous concept. Some people care about it. Some people don't. Some films out there, nobody gives a fuck about like a producer. I think it's more like business end of things. You see the Chip and Dale movie? No. The Third Circuit, Section 230 decision in Anderson v. TikTok is pure poppycock. Have you seen In Bruges? Yeah. That's a cute movie. And it's got the Voldemort guy in it. I read something, fuck. I always forget her name. Wait, I don't even know if it was her. Was it Anne Hathaway that said Zoomers can't watch movies anymore? They always ask how long is it going to be. Was she the one? Does anybody know what quote I'm talking about? Was it her or was it somebody else? Oh, wait, Winona Ryder. Winona? I don't know. Fucking. Oh, it was this. Winona Ryder gets frustrated by her younger co-stars who are not interested in movies. The first thing I say is, how long is it? I don't know if this trend is starting to finally reverse. However, I will say that for like the past like 10 years, movies there's a trend of movies being way too long. Like, I even feel it. Like, if I'm with a friend and they want to watch a movie, like the first thing I'm looking at is how long the movie is. When I see like a 90-minute movie, I'm like, oh, thank God. When it's like a 3.5-hour movie, I'm like, bro, like, really? Like, there's way too many of these movies that are way, way, way too fucking long. Like, I feel like your minimum runtime for a film these days, it feels like 2 hours. It's also one of the reasons why I like horror movies sometimes, because I know a horror movie is always going to be like around 90 minutes. Was Everything Everywhere All at Once too long? Fuck no. That movie ran tight as fuck. I don't even know if that movie was 2 hours, though, was it? Oh, it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Long movies aren't necessarily bad, just some of them drag hard. Yeah, The Batman was way too long. I'll always run to this movie. How long is this movie? I think this movie's like 3.5 hours long. This movie is perfect, okay? This movie doesn't feel long. Just kidding, 2.5 hours. 2:43. I thought Dune 2 was fine. It was probably long. 2 hours and 46 minutes, that's fine. Dune 2 felt fine. But like, not every movie needs to be 3 hours long. Jesus Christ. The Departed was 3+ hours? No shot, was it? In my mind, The Departed is coded as like an 1.5-hour movie to me. 2.5 hours, okay. This is a great movie. The Departed is such a good movie. Such a good movie. But yeah, I get anxious when I look at a movie and it's like, 3 hours. J-Win HD. I was not aware of that. Oh no, actually I think I was. She got charged or something, didn't she? But they just need to bring back intermissions. I just rewatched Lawrence of Arabia, and it's divided into 2 hour and a half and a half. It's divided into a 2 hour and an hour and a half movie with a clear first and second half arc. It's perfectly fine. Okay. Do you like The Prestige? Yeah, that's a great movie. Did you ever watch the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie? Unfortunately. Out of all the WWE wrestlers who turned actors, John Cena, Batista, and The Rock, who came out as being the best actor? I feel like they're all pretty one-dimensional, but I'd probably lean more towards towards John Cena. Who is Batista? WWE. I don't know who this guy is, though. Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't even know he was from WWE. Hold on, what movies has he been in? He was in Blade Runner. Who was he in Blade Runner? Oh shit, he's the Guardians of the Galaxy dude. Oh, and Dune, is he the big bad dude? Wait, it's definitely this guy then. Wait, it's not even close. We're not even close. Wait, what? It would definitely be this guy. No offense to The Rock is like one dimensional. He knows it. John Cena he's like okay. He's not like a horrible. Well, he's probably below average, but he's like I respect him for his hustle and his grind, and he seems like a friendly, cool dude. But this guy would be far and away better than the other two, right? Let's see. TikTok, via its algorithm, recommended and promoted videos posted by third parties to 10-year-old Nyla Anderson on her uniquely curated For You page. One video depicted the blackout challenge, which encourages viewers to record themselves engaging in acts of self-asphyxiation. After watching the video, Nyla attempted to conduct the depicted in the challenge and unintentionally hanged herself. Holy shit. Oh, shit, though. That's a good question. Section 230 should probably protect you from user-generated content. But when you're algorithmically promoting and recommending certain content, it's a different type of thing, I think. Huh. Like, let's say that I generated an algorithm, then I could tell who was depressed. And let's say you look up certain types of YouTube videos and I can tell, oh, you're probably depressed. And then I start algorithmically, like, showing you videos of like how to kill yourself, and then that person ends up killing themselves. That's definitely a different type of thing, for sure. If you can't regulate the algo because it is speech, then they can be responsible for the content that speech promotes if it goes far enough to promote it. If you can't regulate the algo because it is speech, then they can be responsible for the content that speech promotes. Okay. When you sue in a federal court, the state laws and everything don't apply, right? You're not really like all of that is irrelevant. You're just looking at a certain type of federal circuit. Dumb question, but would you consider suicidal ideation violent speech against yourself? I don't know. Violent speech is that's a rough one. What counts as violent speech? There's a major circuit split. Every other circuit has said that algos are protected under 230. I'd be curious what the extent of those rulings are, how much they actually dug into it. ICSs, which is probably what, an internet content server or internet curator. What is ICS? Interactive computer service, which is defined as any information service system or access software provider that provides or enables computer access by multiple users to a computer server, including specifically a service or system that provides access to the internet. Section 230 immunizes ICSs only to the extent that they are sued for information provided by another information content provider. In other words, ICSs are immunized only if they are sued for someone else's expressive activity or content, but they are not immunized if they are sued for their own expressive activity or content, which is what we would expect. If Twitter were to post something on their own, then obviously they would be liable for it. But if somebody else posts something on Twitter, Twitter probably shouldn't be liable for it because that would destroy all social media stuff, right? Read the Tech Dirt article over it. I'm 2 paragraphs in, and whoever wrote this, I already don't care about their opinion. Last week, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit concluded in Anderson v. TikTok that algorithmic recommendations are protected by Section 230 because they're the platform's First Amendment protected expression, the court reasoned. Algorithms are the platform's own first-party speech and thus fall outside Section 230's liability shield for the publication of third-party speech. Of course, the platform's decision to host a third-party speech at all is also First Amendment protected expression. By the Third Circuit's logic, then, such hosting decisions, too, are a platform's own first-party speech, unprotected by Section 230. This is retarded. We've already hit the key problem with the Third Circuit's analysis. Given these platforms engage protected first-party speech under the First Amendment, when they curate compilation of other content via expression with court declared, it follows that doing so amounts to first-party speech under Section 232. No, it does not. Assuming a lack of overlap between First Amendment protections and Section 230 protection is a basic mistake. Assuming a lack of overlap. Section 230C1 says that a website shall not be treated as the publisher of most third-party content it hosts and spreads. Under the ordinary meaning of the word, a publisher prepares information for distribution and disseminates it to the public. Under Section 230, therefore, a website is protected from liability for posting, removing, arranging, and otherwise organizing third-party content. In other words, Section 230 protects a website as it fulfills a publisher's traditional role, and one of Section 230's stated purposes is to promote the continued development of the internet. Plaintiffs and Anderson are not the first to contend that the website would lose Section 230 protection when they use fancy algorithms to make publishing decisions. Several notable court rulings, all of them unceremoniously brushed aside by the Third Circuit, as we shall see, reject the notion that algorithms are special. The Second Circuit's 2019 decision in Farce v. Facebook is especially instructive. What do they say here? Let's see. U.S. citizen victims of Hamas terrorists in Israel appeal from a final judgment. Wait, page 19, but it's the same thing. Page 19 for what? Information provided by another information content provider. Section 230C1's protections extend only to claims that would hold a defendant liable for information provided by another information content provider. Put another way, Section 230C1 does not protect defendants from claims arising from their own content. For example, Section 230C1 would not bar a defamation claim against a social media website based on the content of a label or disclaimer added by the website to third-party content, but as recognized in Zarin and other cases, Section 230C1 does allow a defendant to make some editorial adjustments to third-party content without being considered the provider of that content. 168. Making minor alterations to email before posting email to listserv does not render defendant liable for third-party content. Deleting erroneous information from a database containing third-party content does not render defendant liable for third-party content. Whether a defender or defendant is being treated as the publisher of information provided by another information content provider depends in part on whether the defendant is an information content provider itself, as defined in Section 230. An information content provider is any person or entity that is responsible in whole or part for the creation or development of information provided through the internet or any other interactive computer service. When a case involves third-party content, courts routinely focus on the defendant's role in the creation or development of the content. Okay. Control F algorithm. Algorithmic sorting and promotion. Promotion. Recurring issue in, wait, what is the date for this? This is 2024. All right. Recurring issue in Section 30 cases is whether Section 230C1 immunizes the use of algorithms to filter and sort content in a particular way. A common feature on social media websites and search engines, claims brought against websites for their use of algorithms often cast a website's use of algorithm as either as development of third-party content, much like the theories of roommates and AccuSearch, or as non-publisher activity to which Section 230C1 would not apply. Federal courts of appeals that have considered this issue thus far have uniformly rejected these theories. For a more detailed discussion of these cases and recent developments, see CRS Report R47753. Liability for algorithmic recommendations. What is the annotation here? A thorough examination of the relationship between algorithmic context creativity is the second court's opinion in Force v. Facebook. Okay, well, this is this here. Let us search. Were these people just trying to sue Facebook because they hosted Hamas or because they algorithmically, like, allegations and plaintiff's complaint? We've got the algorithms in here. Wait, what the fuck? Oh. So the holding in this was that the algorithms wouldn't be treated as published material. This concurring in part and dissenting in part. And I respectfully part with the majority on its treatment of Facebook's friends and content suggestion algorithms under the Communications Decency Act. As to the reasons for my disagreement, consider hypothetical. Suppose that you're a published author. One day, an acquaintance calls. I've been reading over everything you've ever published. He informs you, I've also been looking at everything you've ever said on the internet. I've done the same thing for this other author. You two have very similar interests. I think you'd get along. The acquaintance then gives you the other author's contact information and photo, along with a link to all of her published works. He calls back 3 more times over the next week with more names of writers you should get to know. Now, you might say that your acquaintance fancies himself a matchmaker, but would you say that he's acting as the publisher of the other author's work? Facebook and the majority would have us answer this question as yes. I, however, cannot do so. For the scenario I've just described is a little different. It's a little different from how Facebook's algorithms allegedly work, and while those algorithms do end up showing user profiles or events, strains, influence status targeting. And oh wait, what was the majority opinion on this? And dismiss. We affirm the judgment of the district court as to plaintiff's federal claims and dismiss plaintiff's foreign law claim. Ah, fuck. I feel like I have to read this whole thing to have a better handle on it. I don't know what the yeah, fuck me. I don't know. We'll see what the courts decide, I guess. Majority said algo equals protected. Link me the part in the ruling where they say that and I can read it. It should be in the majority opinion, the whole thing somewhere. As alleged, the Russian state broadcaster RT orchestrated a massive scheme to influence the American public by secretly planting and financing a content creation company on U.S. soil, says DOJ. Indictments against Kostya Kalashnikov and Elena Afanasieva. Jesus. Oh, similar to the Internet Research Agency. Wait, hold up. Benny Ann Poole, the same number of YouTube subscribers as mentioned in section 4 or paragraph 4 of the indictment. Wait, hold up. Kalashnikov Afenasiefa, I don't know, Founder 1 and Founder 2 also worked together to deceive two U.S. online commentators, Commentator 1 and Commentator 2, who respectively have over 2.4 million and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. Tim Pool, 1.4 million.
There's this idea.
Or 1.37 million. I don't know if they just went with the Google list here or the Google. Founder 1 and Founder 2 contracted with Commentator 1 and Commentator 2 to produce videos using Commentator 1's and Commentator 2's own names and leveraging their existing audiences for license and publication by U.S. Company 1. Wait. Oh, fuck. What did I watch? Oh, I don't think I watched this on stream. I think this is off stream. Oh, I'm not going to be able to remember it. There was a girl that was on Tim Pool, and I was listening to them talking about something, and she literally says, "Yeah, this reminds me of when I used to work. This reminds me when I used to work back with RT." Fuck! Oh God, what's the video that I'm thinking of? I think it was recent. It was a girl that said it. I think there were two different women on this show. Fuck! What was I watching? The redhead? Was it? I don't know if it was her or not. Oh, fuck, what was this about? The U.S. company at the center of this Russian plot uses the same slogan, the indictment notes, as Tenet Media, the home of Lauren Southern, Tim Pool, and Benny Johnson, among others. Uh-oh. Two counts, FARA and money laundering. Network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues and identify 6 commentators who regularly post videos featuring these commentators as well as other videos that do not feature commentators across an array of social media networks. My schizo posting is real and true. Hold on. Fuck, I wish I could remember which video I watched. Look at your YouTube history. I just checked. Oh, wait, it might be Tim Cast, maybe. It would have been recent, like August 30th.
Over to timcast.com, click join us, and but for $10
Connected, going to do.
Fuck. Would RT... I turned off my YouTube history feed, I think. Wait, did I on this account? Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, no, you're going to see all the videos I pre-watch just to fuck with you guys. Oh, my pre-stream house videos. Yes. If I search up here, is it just going to search these videos? Oh, search is on the right. It would have been like in the last few days, I think. Oh, no, not this. Oh, wait. I think it was
Post-millennial.
Wait, would it have been this?
Trump's...
Wait, this. It was this lady. Hold on. I don't think we ever watched this on stream. I heard her say this and I was like, oh, interesting. Yep. Yeah, here it is. I was like, damn, she's just on your show, huh?
Troops out of Syria. He set a deadline for withdrawal from Afghanistan. They lost their minds over that, and I think that was the principal catalyst that set them off to try and destroy him.
Yeah, and having dialogue with other world leaders such as Putin. I mean, I went to the Trump-Putin summit at the time I was working for RT, which was super fun because we were at the center of the conspiracy to elect Trump, you may recall. And it was, for me,
Just wild how, again, imagine a CNN show, imagine some like liberal news network where you just have people that worked for, oh, so back when I worked for Hugo Chavez, you know, back when I worked for the Venezuelan state media, like.
me, incredible actually to witness a U.S. president acting like a statesman and sitting down with a powerful leader of another powerful country and supposedly acting in good faith. And I later interviewed the deputy foreign minister of Russia who was involved in those negotiations, and he told me that acting in good faith. And I later interviewed the deputy foreign minister of Russia who.
Whenever there's a foreign department in a country like this, so when she says she interviewed the deputy foreign minister of Russia, what that means is they either reached out to her or RT set up a conversation between her and him so that they could go over talking points, by the way. That's what that means.
Who was involved in those negotiations, and he told me that they agreed on so much in Helsinki at that time that then just got completely, he said that we were shocked when a few months later Trump, withdrew from the INF treaty, went along with all the things that John Bolton wrote in his memoir he advised Trump to do. And it really does demonstrate that I do think Trump tried, but that the president is up against a lot more than we realize. And it's even more than Bolton and Pompeo and these characters.
Do you know the one time the media praised Donald Trump as presidential?
When?
Any guesses?
When I can't remember.
I feel like you had a guess.
It's just like, it's insane. In the private correspondence while working directly for RT, pursuant to Founder One's written contract, Founder One and Founder Two regularly referred to their sponsor, i.e. RT, as the Russians. For example, on or about May 12, 2021, Founder Two messaged Founder One on Discord. So we're billing the Russians from the corporation, right? On or about May 22nd, 2021, Founder One messaged Founder Two on Discord. Also, the Russians paid. So we're good to bill them for the second month, I guess. On or about June 2nd, 2021, Founder One messaged Founder Two on Discord. Also, I say we bill the Russians for the last month once we're done the extra op-eds, referring to Founder One's paid opinion articles for RT. And on or about January 5th, 2022, Founder 2 messaged an acquaintance on Discord about paid leave that the Russians had offered to Founder 1. I hope that this is like, I don't know if it counts as treason. I should look up what these things, like the actual meaning of like what counts as this, but if commentator 1 and 2 are Benny and Poole, they demand $5 million to spew the shite they do about Trump. Hold on. On or about February 8th, 2023, Founder 1 reported Persona 1. On Founder 1's outreach to Commentator 1 and Commentator 2, Founder 1 advised that Commentator 1 said it would need to be closer to $5 million yearly for him to be interested. And the Commentator 2 said it would take $100K per weekly episode to make it worth his while. Founder 1 cautioned that from a profitability standpoint, it would be very hard for a Viewpoint, i.e. the initial public-facing name of the new venture, to recoup the cost for the likes of Commentator 1. Oh, this is probably Tim Pool then. I don't know anybody else in media right now that could command this much payment. I don't think Lauren Chen has anywhere near this reach. Fuck, do we want to read these whole indictments? Fuck! I do. Fuck, link me again. We'll read them. Now we have to. Oh, please be less than 100 pages. 32 pages. Okay. When is Farhar coming back? Can you give us a tea about what happened? It's been a while without drama. Unfortunately, on my my Vyvanse brain is just super not interested. So when I see people are like going to be dramatic, I usually just stop talking to them or cut that out completely. When me and Lauren, which Lauren? De Laguna, had our kind of falling out. Lauren De Laguna decided to go and talk to a whole bunch of people to convince them that I'm like this crazy, horrible, evil person, because if everybody else couldn't do it, maybe she'll be the one. And anytime people start to like listen to somebody like that with no evidence, and they're like, oh my God, well, hold on, maybe you are. Then I'm like, okay, well, that's good. You can think what you want, but I'm not going to sit here. And I think a couple people, Farah and I think Jasmine, like kept coming to me with these claims with no evidence. Like, did you say this? And then it's like, no, like, you have no proof of this. And they'd be like, we have receipts. And I'd be like, okay, then maybe if I did say it, I'm sorry, I don't remember. But then I'd find out like their receipts were like Lauren just saying it. And I was like, okay, these aren't receipts. I don't think I said this. And then I was like, this is retarded. Like, this is so much drama for so much little nothing. And I was like, fuck this. I don't care anymore. So I just stopped talking to them. Okay. Sealed indictment. Introduction, RT, formerly known as Russia Today. Okay, always taking notes. Create new note. This is 2024 September 4th. I don't even know what I would call this indictment. Fuck. The U.S. District Court. It's SDNY, right? SDNY. Southern District of New York versus. Isn't SDNY just the venue? Yeah, it's the or no, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I wrote that. It should just be USA. Did you feel that RT was trying to do weird shit with you? They just wanted me on. I think that when Russia reaches out to people like me, the goal is to have me on as legitimizing figures for their platform. So if I'm going on, I am going on to sincerely debate and argue with them, and they know that they're not going to be able to control me. But the goal of that is to be able to say, like, well, look, hold on, it's not propaganda. We have people like Destiny on. See, he argues and debates us. He argues with us and he debates us. So it's like, you know, it's legit. I think that's the goal of having voices like me on those networks. That's why I kind of stopped being on stuff relating to that. Isn't that the same thing you feel with Piers? Maybe, but Piers is not Russian media. When were you in RT? A few times, like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Kim Iverson interviewing
now with this
the
election,
lady.
it's
I don't have time to dig deep into this. I just want to watch the indictments. This is just going to be
now with
this is going to be all pro East or what Russia. This is just going to be all pro Russia, pro anything that's not America. Kim Iverson is like the most bog standard anti-American populist figure.
now with this
She has been for like a decade.
election, it's given them a chance to reignite that violent strategy.
I think a big question for a lot of people watching is why in the hell do we care? You know, I mean, I don't care about Venezuela. I mean, you know, if I were Venezuelan, I would care about Venezuela, right? I don't want to sound like I don't care about people. I care about people, of course, but I'm just saying I don't really care about Venezuela. I think a lot of people don't care about Venezuela. And I think that this sounds to me like a fight between the capitalists and the socialists or the communists, you know, however people want to paint it. And it doesn't, and I don't really care. You know, honestly, I'm like, what do I care if Venezuela is capitalist? What do I care if they're socialist? What do I care if they're communist? What do I care if any country around the world is any of these things? You know, I want to care about America. And so I think that's like a big question that people have on their minds is why in the world are we caring so much about Venezuela? Why in the world are our leaders caring so much about Venezuela? Countries all around the world have dictators or fake elections or coups that happen. I mean, all throughout the continent of Africa, we could start breaking it down country by country and having an issue with every single leader that's in power, right? But we don't pay much attention. But for whatever reason, there is a hyper focus. I mean, Juan Guaido carted into Congress, given standing ovations, right, during the State of the Union address. So what is it about Venezuela? And you wrote a whole book about this, so you are the expert on this. What is it about Venezuela that our government is like trying to make us care about this and trying to get us to?
Is her camera uneven? It is. There should be a little bubble on the on whatever you're balancing the camera on that you can check to make sure, and the cameras will usually have a level as well, but she has a green screen behind her, I think, and the camera is not level. Not good. Not good.
To support, like I said, I don't care either way, whether Maduro or the opposition won. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. So what is it? Why are they doing this? What is their agenda?
Yeah, as an American, I would say it especially doesn't matter
Oh, and then this is the girl from the Temple show.
to me how someone, if I were in U.S. government, it wouldn't matter to me how one leader or another came to power. If they control the military, if they control the borders, if they control the trade and industry, I'm just going to deal with them. And so we know the U.S. doesn't care about democracy. That's not, again, why they decide to side with Maduro or not. But
Right.
let me paint a picture for why Americans...
Just to be clear, the United States does care about democracy, and the entire world does care about democracy. Not necessarily because it's like we want people to be free and happy, and we've got these principled attachments to everybody having freedom, but just because democracies tend to produce more stable countries where you can track like public opinion and what's going on a lot better than you can for a dictatorship. Like democracies tend towards stability and tend towards stable policy more than coups and dictatorships every 5 months. This idea of like, oh well, I don't care who's in charge, or I don't care, is retarded, right? Anybody that does a lot of international business, especially capital intensive international business, knows this, right? You don't want to go to a country, you're working on some project for 8 months, and there's a coup, and now all of your industrial equipment gets expropriated by the government, and you get kicked out or something, right? Like stability in governments is important. It matters. It does matter, but especially before any big investments are made into anything in the country.
actually do have a stake in Venezuela. And that's a deep historic relationship. Ever since oil was discovered in Venezuela in the 1920s, the United States and Venezuela have had an inseparable relationship. In fact, World War II, the Allied victory in World War II would have been impossible without Venezuelan oil. I note in my book that at the
That too, I have no idea if that's true or not. It might be. I have no idea.
beginning of World War II, England, or Britain, the U.S.'s primary ally at the time, was dependent on Venezuelan oil for 40% of their oil imports, Britain being
Oil imports, United States of America, World War II. Were we even using oil yet in World War II? I'm trying to remember when light bulbs were invented. At the start of World War II, the United States is responsible for 60% of world production of oil, followed by Russia and Venezuela. So Venezuela is up there.
being entirely dependent on imports for oil. By the time the U.S. joined the fight, that number was more like 80%. So Venezuelan oil literally fueled the Allied victory in World War II.
Is the goal with this spreading this brain rot just to get more Americans to support fascism or what? No, it's just to make America be more unstable. When America has instability at home, is unsure about what our mission is internationally, and doesn't feel like we have like a moral right to do anything, it leaves the opportunity for other actors to become more prominent on the world stage. So it opens up the opportunity for Russia or China or other actors to take a bigger role in foreign politics because the United States is beginning to recede, and which we have been, right?
And since 2019, the United States has actually had an embargo on Venezuelan oil as part of the Trump administration's sanction package.
This came Iverson evil or ignorant? Evil.
Designed to deliver Juan Guaido to the seat of power in Venezuela. And
but why do we want the oil? I mean, we're oil sufficient as a country now, aren't we? We also have other countries that produce plenty of oil. Like, why don't we just leave this one country with oil alone?
Well, I agree. I think we should be tapping more into our own domestic reserves and letting Venezuela do whatever it wants with its oil. But it's just we were dependent on Venezuela for around 7% of our oil imports as of 2019 when that ban came down. And there's an existing infrastructure there. We don't even have the full infrastructure in our own country to tap into our own oil wealth the way that we could. But there are
I don't know what that means, but
there. We don't even have the full infrastructure in our own country to tap into our own oil wealth the way that we could. But there are these pipelines. There's a whole, Citgo Petroleum was a subsidiary of the Venezuelan state oil company. The gas stations that we use all across the country were tied directly back to Venezuelan oil.
this Anya person is with Gray Zone, and she's Max Blumenthal's wife. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oil supplies. And I would note that when Biden came in with his own oil ban in 2022 against Russia, at that point, that was basically a sanction against the U.S. population, because something I note in my book, and I show a graph of this, when Trump put on the Venezuela oil ban in 2019, as I mentioned, Venezuela was giving us about 7% of our oil imports at the time. Well, Russia's share of the market jumped 7%, I think because they were just buying Venezuelan oil and selling it back to us the way that the Indians are doing for Europe now. But then when Biden came in and banned the sale of Russian oil in the United States, that had the combined impact of cutting us off from both sources. So that was around 10%. The combined total of Russian and Venezuelan oil is 10% of our imports. Do we think that might have anything to do with the high gas prices and the subsequent inflation we've experienced here in the United States? I would say absolutely yes. And the Europeans right now as well, because of these sanctions on Russia, need Venezuelan oil. We might not as much as the Europeans do, just simply because, they don't have the resources that we or anybody else do.
When I'm looking at the top oil producing countries, now this is just oil producing, and I know Venezuela has a bunch of oil that they are not able to produce. I think, right, because they don't have the refineries that are the infrastructure built, because they are sanctioned to death, right? When I look at this list, yeah, it's a lot of enemies. It's a lot because we go around making a lot of enemies, unfortunately. So number one is the United States. We do
Says the United States of America, right? The literal fucking world leader of diplomacy. We make a lot of enemies. Well, compared to who? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a lot of enemies. It's a lot because we go around making a lot of enemies, unfortunately. So number one is the United States. We do produce the most oil in the world, but then it's Russia. Saudi Arabia is our friend right now, but that could always change. They're like a wild card, right?
Are they? Is Saudi Arabia a wild card for U.S. alliances right now? How many decades have we been friendly with the Saudis?
Saudi Arabia, that relationship.
It's because they're Muslim and brown. That's why they're wild.
Is in the best position. Canada's number 4. Okay, fine, friendly Canadians. So you've got the United States and Canada there, but then you've got Iraq, China, Iran, Brazil.
Sorry.
But that could always change. They're like a wild card, right? Saudi Arabia, that relationship's not always in the best position. Canada's number 4. Okay, fine, friendly Canadians. So you've got the United States and Canada there, but then you've got Iraq, China, Iran, Brazil, which is a friendlier country, but then you've got the UAE, Kuwait, Mexico. there's a lot of adversaries or enemies.
The UAE, are they adversarial to the United States? These are all part of Kuwait. These are all big OPEC countries. What do we?
Or people that we countries that we bully that are on this list. So do you think that the reason why the U.S. wants to secure Venezuelan oil is because it's like a fail-safe?
Kuwait, the country that we historically are such bullies towards. What the fuck?
In case Saudi Arabia turns on us, and then we need to have another place. And so we would turn to Venezuela because we got that on lock or something.
Kuwait was... Wait, hold on. Let me just make sure I'm not mixing countries up here. Okay, yeah. Kuwait is the country that we saved in 91 when Saddam Hussein was like, we owe you guys a lot of money, but if we go and we blow all your shit up and we take you over, we just realized we wouldn't owe you anything anymore. And then the United States and a 42-country coalition said, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and when it comes to Venezuela, it's not only oil. I think that's definitely part of the strategy, but Venezuela also has the largest untapped gold deposits in the world, and I think in some ways that could be more valuable in the future than oil. And
okay.
And it's important to keep in mind that for much of the last century, Venezuela was top 3 oil producer. It is only since sanctions came into place that let me just step back and explain it this way. Since Venezuela discovered oil, or actually Dutch explorers working for Shell discovered oil in Venezuela in the 1920s, Venezuela developed as a total petrostate and was completely dependent on...
Don't say it. Is petrodollar going to come up at all in this video? 23 and a half minutes. We'll play until petrodollar comes up. I know it's coming.
The international oil market in order to keep their own industry alive. That's the way that neoliberalism works, right? Is that it comes in as part of this international hand, the IMF, and manages your economy, tells you what you can and cannot spend money on, who you can export to, of course, which companies, European and American, that can operate in this case, Venezuela. And they just run it for you, right? The refineries, your oil economy, it's all run by foreign corporations. So Venezuela, and this is by design so that these countries cannot be independent, never fully developed its own production capability when it comes to actually building the refineries and upkeeping them. It's just something that foreigners always did. And so now since they've lost access to some of the major parts, and for a while, even the inputs, meaning the chemical inputs that they needed in order to pump their crude, because their crude is extremely dense, like molten tar, that led to a crash in the oil economy. And I cite an actual opposition-aligned economist, a major Maduro critic based in the United States, Francisco Rodriguez, who analyzed Venezuela's oil industry and put it up against every major sanction the U.S.
Didn't Venezuela nationalize their oil industry? Yes, and they expropriated, I believe, all of the refineries as well. They took them over. I'm standing on shaky ground here, but I believe that a lot of the issues that Venezuela ran into after nationalizing their oil production is they locally they couldn't run the refineries as efficiently or as well. They didn't have the domestic talent, absent the foreign, ownership to accurately and efficiently run their own oil industry. So part of the expropriation of their oil industry, taking all of the plants, kicking out all the companies, and then trying to run it themselves didn't work as well. I believe it's also, I think it's economic consensus that Venezuela's major economy problems are not related to worldwide oil crashes or anything like that, but it has more to do with the economic policy that the leadership in Venezuela pursued. Combination of like very harsh price controls combined with their inability to run their oil industry, combined with like oil crashes, like all of these things like played into it. It wasn't just, people like to say it was just the oil, the market crashes in the oil, or just like a U.S. sanction, which would have come way later. But I don't believe that's the economic opinion. I don't believe so for Venezuela. One thing I will say this is true for everything in economics, but oil especially is like a very complicated, there's a lot going on with oil. So especially when you're seeing people like him, any commentator that just talks about oil shit and like shows you like an oil like graph, like this is a thing. Oil is just, it's complicated. There are different types of oil. Some of the oil is more easier to refine into like more valuable parts. Like I believe this is why oil, for instance, in the Gulf is so valuable, is because you can sip it out of the ground with a straw. It's easily accessible. And it comes at like a good concentration of like usable products. It doesn't have to be like hardcore refined. There's other oil like in Canada, I believe in the West, that the oil is much harder to get to. It's dirtier. It requires more refinement. There's technologies that are invented to get some oil out easier than other oil. There are like world market shortages. There are sometimes artificial supply bottlenecks when people want to, like, there's a whole thing related to oil that that market is pretty complicated. If somebody's not speaking like they have an expertise in oil, I would be very careful taking any heavy claims they make about the world oil economy very seriously. I would just always be careful of that. I don't know much like in detail about like oil economies and everything. Also, anytime somebody says petrodollar and they talk about any conspiracies related to the petrodollar, you can safely ignore everything they have to say on the economy shit, because that's like another weird international conspiracy about how the United States makes everybody trade things, denominate their oil transfers in dollars and USD because they're trying to launch wars against every country and force them to use the dollar, and the petrodollar is how we run the world. And the reality is that when you're trading between two countries, trading in a stable currency where all your trades are denominated in that currency, it's easier to do because it makes your trading easier, right? If I'm going to trade corn with another guy who grows flour, it's easier if we have a common exchange, a currency to trade between, because I might not always want to hold flour, he might not always want to hold corn. Well, that's what we're trading for. But like, I'm just saying it's easier to do things in another denominated stable currency, depending on the country you are in. It is the strongest argument for the petrodollar. But yeah, anytime petrodollar shit comes up, it's always going to be like retarded shit.
Put it up against every major sanction the U.S. levied against the country in just a basic chart. And he found that for every major drop in the Venezuelan oil industry, there was a major U.S. sanction that coincided with the date of that drop. And he said that this counted as like a statistical smoking gun.
Like I don't think this is true.
Implicating the U.S. in what he said was a surgical strike on Venezuela's oil economy. Now, in the last few years, Iran, another major oil producer that has been under sanctions for much longer than Venezuela, has actually stepped in. There were mass oil shortages in Venezuela in 2019 and 2020. You might remember Iran sent those shipping freighters, those huge ships to Venezuela with all of these chemical inputs and lighter crude that they needed in order to revive their oil production capacity. And it actually turned their production capabilities around. But more significantly, in recent years, Iran has actually signed deals to rebuild Venezuela's damaged refineries. And so that would be a step that completely takes Venezuela out of dependence on the West and will insulate them from future sanctions damage. And I think Venezuela will get back to where they were before. But this time around, once they're producing like they were in the last century, they'll be part of this multipolar alliance in BRICS. You mentioned Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Russia, China, Brazil, those other.
Haven't heard petrodollar in the context you're talking about. It's probably just wait, hold on. Nah, we use that. We use that term in academia and in finance too. I'm sorry. Let me be more clear. The petrodollar is a real thing, and it's a term that people do use in academia, in finance, in papers. But usually when you hear a layman say petrodollar, the next words out of their mouth are going to be IMF, George Soros, and some other weird shit. Petrodollar is a real thing. The petrodollar is a thing. I believe, I don't think it's just OPEC. I think almost all world trades with oil are denominated in USD. That doesn't sound right. Is that true between, like, say, Russia and China? A lot of oil trade. Wait, we just look it up. The petrodollar is a real thing, but there's a lot of conspiracies that come behind. Usually, as soon as somebody says petrodollar, there's a lot of conspiracies that immediately come behind it. That's what I'm referring to. But just the petrodollar is a real thing. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
For oil producers, well, now they've all started only in the last year openly building this alternative global financial network that will not be dependent on the dollar, not be dependent on the West for their parts and for their exchange. And Venezuela is going to turn to them. I wouldn't be surprised if Maduro survives this latest escalation by the opposition, if Venezuela is now led into BRICS in Russia later this year.
Again, the reason why you want to denominate your trade, there is no conspiracy here. The reason why you want to usually denominate your trade in USD is because if you don't, the Jews are going to kill your entire human population. No, I'm just kidding. The reason why you do this is because you just want a stable reserve currency to trade in. It just makes sense, right? Like at one point in time, companies talked about I say companies, but people had this fantasy of companies paying you in Bitcoin, right? Now, one of the major issues about getting paid in Bitcoin isn't the feasibility of it on the tech side. It's that, okay, well, hold on. My paycheck last week, I got 1 Bitcoin. What am I getting this week? 1 Bitcoin? Is that my payment is 4 Bitcoin per month? Well, what about the massively fluctuating prices of Bitcoin? I don't want to get paid in Bitcoin. Or if I do, you're going to have to change my paycheck literally every week, every 2 weeks. Okay? I'm not going to get paid the same amount. So we're going to have a fluctuate. So there are ways to combat this, right? So somebody might say, okay, I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin, but because I want your payment in Bitcoin to be relatively stable, we're going to peg that payment on something else. Where are we going to peg it on a local currency? Well, no, the whole reason why I'm going to get paid in Bitcoin is because my local currency is not, it's not stable. Okay, well, fine. Well, what's a stable currency? Okay, well, how about the United States dollar? Okay, so we're going to pay you in Bitcoin, but we're going to pay a Bitcoin equivalent to USD, meaning your paychecks are really, they're marked in Bitcoin, but they're really denominated by Bitcoin, but their value is like being tracked with USD, but then we're going to pay you Bitcoin. At that point, you're basically using like a USD reserve backed like Bitcoin, right? Do you see the issue? Like, okay, well, I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin based on the value of the USD because your paycheck is going to be $20,000 a month, but that $20,000 a month is going to be paid in Bitcoin, but it's always going to be $20,000 USD, not whatever the USD equivalent to Bitcoin is, because the Bitcoin value is going to change so much. Does that make sense? Sorry, I feel like there's a clusterfuck explanation, but you want a stable currency because if shit is bouncing around all the time, it's just going to be annoying to try to keep up on prices. It's going to be obnoxious as fuck. Wouldn't you pin it to something like gold or a commodity? No, commodities suck, and gold prices fluctuate all the time, and no one gives a fuck about denominating in that shit either.
So that's something the U.S. would hate to see happen, especially because, as I mentioned, this is not only about oil. This is about plenty of other natural resources Venezuela is rich in, including, as I said, the largest untapped gold deposits in the world, which I think will be a key part of BRICS going forward as they build this alternative system.
So who's behind
Hear that audio?
this then?
You don't get that on bridges and anything else.
Which I think will be a key part of BRICS going forward as they build this alternative system.
So who's behind this then? Is it our government that actually cares about grabbing, securing this oil and securing this gold? Is it the government players, or is it the oil companies, the corporate companies who care and they're pressuring the government to do? I mean, we've seen over the last few years, attempted coups on Maduro. They try to kill the guy. They named, like you mentioned, named another guy as president, claiming they're all for democracy.
How is using USD even benefiting the USA or the US as much as they say? My guess is, this is a macro econ claim, so I don't know, but my guess is going to be this probably doesn't impact the stability of the United States dollar much at all. That'd be my guess, but I could be wrong on that. But my guess is it wouldn't affect it much at all. Whether or not other people are using your currency as a reserve currency or whatever. That'd be my guess. How much does other countries using USD reserve currency impact U.S. inflation? How CPI affects the dollar against other currencies? Actually, in a very roundabout way, maybe it would impact inflation. So like, for instance, because the U.S. is a global reserve currency, the U.S. can always raise an almost unlimited amount of money because we can always like sell treasury bonds and stuff, especially to other countries. Like anybody can always buy them. But if the USD wasn't a global reserve currency and it was harder to sell those to other people and more and more of it was only domestically bought, maybe that would increase inflation. Maybe. I'm not sure. So there might be a roundabout connection to it. Maybe. I don't know. That's a big macroecon question. I don't have the background to answer.
They try to kill the guy. I mean, they've done.
Can you explain what BRICS is and why you think it's a nothing burger? BRICS is 5 countries that no one cares about, all trying to be their own like trading bloc. But it's like, what is BRICS? It's Brazil, Russia, India. Is it China and South Africa? What is the S? BRICS. Yeah, but I don't even know what they do. I say that I'm really just being mean. I don't actually know. Maybe BRICS is more successful, but I don't know what kind of like union these guys even have. There are 9 states so far. Like, I don't know how effective this has been if these guys like, because this isn't like a combined market like the European Union, right? Or I guess the U.S., what do we call it now? It's not NAFTA. U.S., Mexico, Canada bullshit. What do we call this now? Is it the USMCA? We're not a combined market either, I guess. God, our integration with somebody said this to me, I think on stream a while ago, or maybe it was off stream. It had to do with immigration. Oh, I think it might have been on Bridges. The lack of integration between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, it actually mind fucks me so hard. We are very poorly integrated between these 3 countries. It's very fucking annoying. Not sure if this is what you're looking for. Most countries are pegging their currencies to the USA so that it is safe for lending and borrowing. I don't believe you're allowed to do that. That's supposed to be illegal. I think China does it, or not illegal. I mean, we're talking, but you're not supposed to do this. But that's kind of like bad faith shit. I don't think you're supposed to do that. They are considered the foremost competitor to the G7. Read the first page you're looking at, bottom of the first section. Yeah, but like even like what does the G7 do? Like what are we? Do we do like trade agreements with just each other, or I don't even know. I truly have no idea. I have no clue. I don't know. I think that it's just the EU is exceptionally well integrated. The same problems exist in Africa. Oh, maybe, yeah. What do you mean by integrated? Like the European Union has so much like freedom of travel, freedom of movement, freedom of trade. It's just so easy to get between all the European Union countries. It's so amazing. And that huge market, it's just so sick. And in the United States, the difficulties between getting from Canada into the US and back and it's just a nightmare. Or everything related to like our immigration, everything is like insane. Although I guess to show for it, I mean, our immigration system is, I mean, we're pretty fucking secure when it comes to like the immigrants that we have here and everything, I guess. So maybe it's... Oh, yeah, it was JJ McCullough on Bridges who said it. That's right. I keep forgetting he told me that. Yeah. The USMCA is just an FTA. It's not an integration like you. Yeah, free trade agreement. You're right. But, yeah. Would you ever want the U.S. to join the EU? I don't know. Probably not. No. That wouldn't make any sense, I don't think. Maybe some kind of trading union between us, some kind of like multilateral trade agreement. That's always good, but
they named, like you mentioned, named another guy as president, claiming they're all for democracy. We're for democracy, but here's a guy that we're going to instill. And as you mentioned, they then said to any other candidate that wanted to run, no, you're not allowed to run. Our guy only.
The biggest reasons is because Americans don't want free movement with Mexico. Yeah, I understand that, but it's like, hasn't it been the case for several years now that like more Mexicans have left the United States than have came into the United States? Like, didn't that trend reverse like a decade ago? Net flow of Mexicans into United States. An estimated 870,000 Mexican migrants came to the U.S. between 2013 and 2018, while an estimated 710,000 left the U.S. from Mexico during that period. This translates to a net migration of around 160,000 from 2013 to 2018. Maybe it was about 6 years ago. Did it change? I think this trend changed somewhat recently. Oh no. Okay, yeah. So from 2005 to 2010, more went to Mexico. 2005 to 2014, and then 2013 to 2018, it changed a little. I don't know if this counts illegal immigrants or not, though. Would you say our policies like price controls, so they had a measurable effect of wealth transfer to lower class people, but an overall negative impact on the economy? Maybe. I don't know if those types of policies tend to work. If it was easier to immigrate to this country for work, it would be so much easier to track illegal immigration. Like, we waste so many resources keeping people out of this country. They should just be here working. It's so stupid. Like, if we just said, like, listen, if you want to come here and fucking work, then fucking A. And then all of our border security could just go towards keeping out bad hombres. It would just be so much. It would just be so much easier. It'd be so much easier and better in every conceivable way for everybody, right? Like, what was our unemployment? It's still really low. It's happened, okay? Listen, the Mexicans have been coming and invading for decades, okay? We still don't have all of the white people unemployed. We still don't have Spanish as the national language. Like, they haven't taken over unemployment. Why is this so hard to see right now? Like, we're fine. It's okay. We did it, okay? Just let them come work, and then we'll crack down on illegal shit at the border. But the housing prices, that's true. Having a ton of people come here more would put way more upward pressure on housing prices, which would be spooky. That is true. Someday we'll figure that out. Isn't that how it works in the US? Like, don't y'all have work visas and shit? I think getting a work visa if you're a low-skill immigrant is really hard. I don't actually know if you can. You risk rapid changing the national culture. I unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I guess, because it conveniently suits my political narrative. I will never, ever, ever take changing national culture seriously again, ever. After conservatives and what they've done to this country in the past decade, I will never, ever take that seriously again. I would much rather see myself fighting alongside my Mexican brothers who come to this country because they believe in the ability to find work and to prosper and thrive here. They are far less authoritarian and destructive in nature than the conservative Christian white people in this country who don't believe in American principles or values, who have no sense of patriotism, who hate this country more than any other country in the world. Like, if it came time to fight for my country, I want the guy that had to crawl through the fucking alligator river, okay, and climb over the barbed wire fence than some retarded fuck that was born here and hates this fucking country because Orange Man told him that this country sucks. Fuck those people, right? I want Pedro and put some other Hispanic names there, okay? Because that dude, he really, he wants to be here. Let me use the restroom 1 sec. Ooh. Can I just do here? Quick shout out if you're a home designer or an architect or a construction worker or whatever. Probably by the time you're in construction, it's too late. Okay, if you're a designer, okay, I don't know why some bathrooms do this. All right, just as a quick thing. Okay, do not put. I hate it when people do this. Do not put towel racks right next to toilets. This is such a shit design. Don't do this. Please just don't do this. At this point, just don't even put in the towel rack. Just don't have it and make the customer buy like their own towel rack or whatever. Don't do this. Also, second thing, these types of holders, don't do this. These are fine. This is fine. Okay. Why do people make these? They always over time start to like twist down. Just fucking don't. Don't ever do this. Just put in a double supported whatever this is. God, these are fucking annoying. Okay. The worst ones are the ones with the cover on top. Yeah, that's just stupid. I don't know why the fuck. Oh, actually, wait, I'm sorry. I do know why the fuck. I haven't had a cat that does this in a long time, but if you have cats, sometimes you need this because a cat will go in and they'll just they just unroll everything because they're autistic as fuck. I don't know why, but they love it. Okay, I'm done with her. Am I?
Our guy can run, not anybody else, because we want our guy to win. So it's anti-democratic. So they don't care about democracy at all. So who is it that is behind
Have you ever heard about bathroom razor blade walls? What?
this, pushing and pulling, the levers in order to put the pressure, maximum pressure on Venezuela?
Well, the title of my book is Corporate Coup, and that's obviously because of the corporate interests that were working to coup Venezuela at the time or throughout the story that I tell in my book. But at the end, the conclusion that I basically arrived to is that the corporate coup took place in our government a long time ago, and that's why our government doesn't actually work in the interests of the American people. If they
Oh, they were just slots to just dump razor blades into the wall, behind the wall? Why the what?
did, then it would just deal with Venezuela in good faith, accept Venezuela for what it is, and yeah, if you want the oil, make a deal with Venezuela to get the oil. But they don't work in our interests. They just work in this zero-sum game where, yeah, these corporations, Exxon and other players, really can't tolerate allowing these countries to be just even the slightest bit sovereign, and that includes the United States, I would say. So who is behind the opposition at this time? Well, I mentioned Maria Corina Machado and her longtime connections to the State Department. There are photographs of her meeting George W. Bush in the Oval Office back in 2003 when she was being trotted out as the leader of the opposition then. But she is just the force behind Edmundo Gonzalez, who was the official candidate in this election. But his biography also sheds some light on the players that are orchestrating this latest opposition push in the street. And that is, well, Elliot Abrams. He's still advising the Biden administration. That's the Iran-Contra indicted criminal for his role in running dirty wars in Latin America throughout the 1980s, who served as the Trump envoy to Venezuela.
He blocked me? What a loser. This is the guy that I quote tweeted today. This is the guy that wanted to. This was the environmental lawyer guy that was in the DOJ that Trump wanted to make the attorney general to send out the fake letters. He tweets a ton. Tim Pool having this take suddenly makes a lot more sense.
But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country.
Oh, I remember this.
Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong, I know. You've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do.
It's funny because you thought for a second he was going to say, hold on, I know, Russia's partially responsible. You thought he was going to say that.
It's war. Now, don't get me wrong, I know. You've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, triggering this conflict.
Remember when the Nord Stream was blown up before the invasion?
Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia. And they know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic.
Fuck, okay. We're going to read this indictment after I think the Actman has questions or wants to come in and chat for a second. Judge wakes moments before our coyotes start. Oh, look at all the... Wait, what the fuck? Are these cats? No. Sheeps? Goats? Goats. Uh-oh. Oh, they're scared. Look at the doggos. Oh no. Okay, well, this video was nowhere near as exciting as I thought it'd be. Bro, have you seen some of these shepherding dogs? They're insane how good they are at what they do.
Dogs confused with the man. So
World's worst sheepdog.
sheep go the wrong way. See what happens.
I have an Australian Shepherd and it's smarter than half my family. Nice.
Here. Come by.
Wow. Look at him go.
Am I interrupting?
No, what's up? How you doing?
Doing fantastic. How about you? Oh shit, is that echo I get? What is that?
Aw. Okay, what's up? What do you want to chat about?